most of the new bow hunters that come to our rank are from the gun hunters. Yeah, they've shot some deer with a gun, and they think that they either like to lengthen the time they can spend in the woods, or they like to make it more difficult to get a deer. And you can get pretty hungry hunting deer with a bow and arrow. You know that.
Right. Well, it was a great ad. Probably a lot of people might even remember it. Had a gun rack.
Yeah.
And had the Winchester and a
Remington. Yeah. Oh, there was an old Winchester of mine that I bought when I was 13 years old. Yeah. Paid $47 for it, I think.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Fine deal. Special stock, special everything. $47.
Then along with those rifles, you had as I recall, a Kodiak Magnum.
Right.
Sitting in there.
Yeah, Kodiak Magnum.
That sort of kicked off the theme, be a two-season hunter. You had a lot of the others. Let's talk bow hunting.
Yeah.
The slogans that you used to have, bow hunting spoken here.
Bow hunting spoken here.
Remember
we did all kinds of things.
Put in front of the dealer's door, and on the way in, bow hunting spoken here, and the way out, I used to say, let's talk bow hunting.
Yep.
And it was really a very good promotion. Your invitation, or your invention, I should call it, when I say invitation, the bow quiver.
Yeah.
Now that, a lot of people, I don't even know if they realize it, but as I recall, you actually invented that, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. Well, there were two people involved in invention, which is not normal. Many times, people work on the same idea, the same project at the same time. And with the bow quiver, I invented it, I guess, yeah. And there was a fellow out in Arizona, Jim Ramsey, who was working on it at the same time, and our patents clashed.
Yeah. Oh, did they?
They clashed in the patent office, and I was able to prove priority of thought. I think that's what they call it. So I got the patent on it. Yeah. And really, it was one of the few patents that could go through the patent office in a year without any references. There were no references whatsoever. Yeah, but the patent wasn't any good because I had a lawyer who didn't do a very good job of writing it up, and every claim started with a bow quiver in combination with a bow.
Yeah.
Which meant that I couldn't sue anybody for infringement for manufacturing the quiver. I could only collect from the person that put it on his bow.
Oh.
So it was entirely worthless.
Sure. Well, I tell you, it's not worthless to millions of bow hunters out there now that are using it.
Actually, it didn't make a difference to me because I was not enforcing our patents at that time anyhow.
You can't hardly buy a bow nowadays without having a bow quiver on. So
right. Yeah.
They're all, I'm sure, very thankful that you at least started the idea. Another thing got you influenced in bow hunting, from what we've talked before in the past. I know your dad was a big influence to you on all kinds of hunting. Taught you the wood lure.
Well, he was an influence to me in gun hunting because I used to traipse around with him rabbit hunting when I was 6 years old with a BB gun.
Yeah.
But I influenced him in the bow hunting. When I changed from gun to the bow, I thought he was going to disown me.
Oh?
Yeah, that was way back, and he thought, what's the matter with that kid? Is he going haywire?
Yeah.
And then after a couple of years, he kind of got the idea, and he became an archer and a bow hunter. And actually, he won, I don't remember the year, but it's way back, he won the national male matches.
He did?
Shooting target. Corey Duryea used to be a fella in the archer ranks down from California. And he ran these male matches. Yeah, my dad won that whole thing one year.
Another big influence, you told me in the past that maybe you might want to share with some of our subscribers and everything. Some of his early movies. Didn't that?
Well, that's what got me started on bow hunting. Actually, yes, yes. The movie, the Adventurous Bowman. It was done about the middle 20s, earlier middle 20s, and it was our young hunting big game with a bow and arrow. And yeah, that was quite an operation. And I saw it, and it went around the theaters in 35 millimeter. And I saw it in the Adams Theater in Detroit about 1927.
Yeah.
And then Art came to Detroit.
Oh,
he lived there for 2 years, yeah. the boss came to me one day. I was running the plant down in Detroit, and the boss came to me one day and said, say, I know you're interested in archery and bow hunting, and there's a fellow going to put on an exhibition. A fellow by the name of Art Young at our club.
Yeah.
Want to come along down? And yeah, I sure did want to come along down. And I met Art Young, and then we shot and played around and made bows and arrows together in the next 2 years.
I think I've seen some pictures of you posing with him.
Oh yeah, we used to we did a lot of shooting.
Yeah, well, we heard a little bit about your shooting skills last night from from Bill.
Bill who?
Bowen, the owner here of
Bill Boyer. Oh,
Boyer,
yeah.
excuse
well,
me.
that's
Talking about your ping ball, shooting ping pong ball.
well, yeah. Bill,
Hey, look who came in, Bob Munger. Bob, why don't you come over and sit down? Do a little
I got
talk
a
here with
chair. I got a
Fred.
chair for you, Bob. Sit on that. And
Cost anything?
No, we'll let you in free. We'll let you in free.
well,
This here is Bob Munger, old time, long time
Not so.
hunting companion of Fred Bear's. Just happened to come into Grousehaven Hunting Lodge
There he
here.
is. Are you back from the...
Hey, these guys could tell some stories, believe me. These guys could tell some stories, believe me. Hey, you want to tell us one of your favorite stories?
you talking to who?
Yeah, you or Bob, either one. Bob?
Tell my dog story, Bob.
What story you're telling?
Well, I don't know. But I try to pick out the worst one of us.
Well, I was going to suggest pick out the best one.
Oh.
You know,
Yeah.
I pay most all these guys around me to say good things
Is there,
about me.
are there some good ones?
They're supposed to be.
Well,
well,
you can't drag a story out of you guys?
I don't know. This guy hunts in his bare feet in the cold weather. Do you know that?
Oh, right. I did a story over 20 years ago about him losing his hip boots while hunting a moose with you.
Yeah. He's very careless where he parks his equipment. Yeah. He
Well-
came wading back through the water and the ice and froze his feet.
Then forgets where he
Fred's always giving me hell for losing everything. And, when we went together several times, it seemed to be a kind of habitual thing that I would lose something. So when we check into the airport, Fred would say, now you go over to that other station and check your stuff in. Don't get around me because I don't lose mine. But we did, went to Alaska once and took Northwest Orient from Chicago. And on the way up there, like I usually do, I've got a bowl in a case that I carry on the plane, and instead of putting it in the luggage compartment, and they're kind of awkward when you got to ride for 5 or 6 hours. But we had this thing between us, and sitting in the seat, and Fred says, you remind me of like an old farmer. He says, you got that antiquated equipment, and he said, mine is in my suitcase. I've perfected a takedown bow, and he says, I got my bow and my arrows and everything right in the suitcase, and he says, I don't have to fool around with all this stuff. And so we got up to Anchorage and transferred to Alaskan Airlines off the Northwest Orient, and when we got to Fairbanks, Fred and I went down to the luggage claim, and Fred didn't have any luggage.
Yeah.
And
Hey, you back, Joe?
I kind of...
I didn't have any luggage for 10 days. Yeah, those moose are kind of hard to kill with rocks,
Yes, really.
geez. Yeah, okay. Well, I'm sorry.
That's all right. Well, you blew the punchline, so I'll
One of the
think of
many,
another
many
story.
stories, believe me. I've heard a lot of them. I wish we had time to run a bunch of
You're
them.
running out
But
of
I tell you what, no, we're not. What I'm leading to, Fred, is you've taken a lot of animals clear all over the world with a bow and arrow. And is there any such thing as your scariest animal you ever hunted, or
The scariest?
scariest experience you may have had?
Well, yeah, I've had lots of close encounters, but they're over in some matter of seconds. I think the lion one was, I wouldn't say the worst because I did enjoy parts of it. We were ambushed by a lion in Mozambique in Africa in 1964. My outfitter, myself, and a couple of natives. I shot this lion at about 6 o'clock in the evening, just at twilight, and he stayed with us Well, it was past midnight before we got out of there, and the way we got out of there is just to very in slow motion sneak into the hunting car and roar out of there to get back to camp, which we did. We got lost coming back, and it was about 2 o'clock. Well, that thing went on for 6 hours, and that was pretty hairy because the lion was out there in the dark of the night roaring every couple of minutes.
Oh, boy.
And we didn't know what it was all about, and we were so scared, and it got cold, and it was a bad night.
Yeah. What are you doing there?
Well, you on there now?
Yeah?
Well, Doug, you just turned this thing on. I've been sitting here with this hose in my nose, and really, it's. I'm going to make a confession. Everybody thinks it's oxygen, but really, what it is I was hunting moose with Bob Munger up in Alaska one year, and we have a habit of when we get something down, especially as big as a moose, we have a sip of peppermint schnapps just to celebrate the occasion. Well, Bob shot this moose, and we started this celebration. We were sitting on the moose, and Bob opened took the cork out of the bottle and sat there, and then he started, before we had a drink, he sat there and started to tell me about how he shot the moose. And that went on for about an hour, and during that time he was inhaling the fumes from this peppermint schnapps, and he really got pretty happy.
Yeah.
And that gave me an idea, and I've been working on this tank here. This everybody thinks that's oxygen, and they feel real sorry for me.
Yeah.
And when I go around this thing in my nose, and actually what it is based on these fumes that Bob was inhaling, he really pretty happy. I thought that's a pretty good deal. So this is a vaporizer. You start off in the morning with a pint of your favorite drink.
Yes.
Today I have peppermint schnapps in it. And when I'm home, I usually go to the filling station, and it operates on 20 pounds of air.
Oh.
And that vaporizes this stuff. And, I can sit in church with this in my nose and get higher and tight. And, that's really what it is.
Are you going to market that?
This thing.
Well, there might be a few other bow hunters around might need something like that.
Well, yeah, it's going to be on the market pretty soon,
Okay,
and
well,
watch for it. There's stock. I'm selling stock in the company if we're going to make it, And if you want to get in, that's selling at $5 a share. Just send all the money you want in.
I'll buy $5 or $10 worth.
Okay, good deal.
Okay, well, that's really nice. Well, you've already told us a couple of funny stories, but what do you really feel was your most funniest hunting experience? Was this guy here, or something else happened?
Well, it's always with this guy, and really,
we're talking about Bob Munger.
The best story I can't tell.
Yeah.
Yeah, and really,
You might tell him about my horsemanship.
Well, yes, I could tell him that. Yes, Bob is not the greatest rider. You put him on a horse, and he doesn't stick there like a postage stamp.
Yeah.
He's vulnerable. And we were hunting up in the Kispiox, and it was a horse trip. And Bob and his guide wanted to go across. We were camped on the Kispiox River.
Yeah.
And Bob and his guide wanted to go across the river to hunt that day, and the river's about 3 or 4 feet deep, and a horse could make it across. And the guide was sitting on his horse, and Bob was sitting on my horse. I loaned him the horse that I usually ride. He's so old he can't jump or throw you or do very much. And the guide, somebody had to go with them across to bring the horses back, so another guide jumped in the back of Bob's guide, back of the horse that he was on, and the horse began to buck. And we were laughing because he wasn't bucking too hard. And then this horse of mine that Bob was sitting on, he's too old really to buck. He can't get his feet off the ground more than a foot, I don't think. Well, he looked over and saw this other horse bucking, and he thought that looked pretty good, so he started bucking, and Bob decided that he wanted to get off the horse, and he didn't care how. But every time he was up in the air, he'd come down on center, and he couldn't maneuver himself to fall off. In the meantime, he had a back quiver, and the arrows were going up and down, and he had a bow, and that was flinging around. What was causing the horse to buck was Bob was poking him in the flank with the bow every time he came down. Well, he finally did come down a little bit off center and managed to get off the horse. And by that time, everybody was just rolling on the ground, and it was great joy.
Well,
It was really a put-up job. He put his saddle on my horse, and his legs are about a foot longer than mine, and in order to get my feet in the stirrups, I had to reach down and stick them in by hand, see, and there was a big kind of a bulge there, and so I just had visions of me when I left that horse. I did finally, and one of the times that he was coming up, I was going down, and I hit him in the rump, and I turned a triple somersault and landed right in front of Fred. And I could visualize myself being dragged by one leg in that loose stirrup back across
All the way across the river, yeah.
yes.
Well, that's what it's trying to set up, but
So that's how he takes care of me. He really takes care
Yeah, I
of
look
me.
after him. Yeah.
Well, we know that.
He's a good man.
All the movies you've made seem like Bob's always kind of there.
Yeah.
And,
You gotta have a goat, you know, if you're gonna do it.
A what?
You gotta have a
Oh,
goat.
okay, well,
And you gotta have a pint of peppermint schnapps,
yes,
too.
I
Yeah, if you're
think,
gonna do a good
I
job.
think Fred made a pretty good pick there.
Yeah.
He made a movie star out of me once, and
Did he?
I had absolutely no acting experience, but we were up polar bear hunting, and I was the maintenance guy on the airstrip. We had a supplies flown out there with a
Yeah.
big beaver plane, and I was out there trying to get that smoothed out so the plane could come in, and Fred sent the director over that we were making a film with Cliff Robertson and polar bear hunting, and so Fred sent Burr Smith over there, and he said, Munger, you've just been made given a pretty good advancement. He says, you're off the maintenance crew, and he says, you're going to have a lead role in this movie.
Oh.
And he says, I said, well, what's going on? He says, well, we've got an Eskimo over here that we hired for the job, but every time I put a camera on him, he melts and won't say anything. So from then on, I was Simon the Eskimo guide.
Yeah.
Simon the Eskimo?
Simon the
I thought you were Killbear.
Well, his last name was
Killbear.
Killbear?
Yeah, that's it. That's it. That was Bob.
Fred, if you could, this would be my last question. I like to kind of wind up these interviews a lot of times just by
Okay.
letting you say pretty much what you want to say. But there is one thing. You know, for years now, you've had this get-together here at Grousehaven.
Yeah.
And you invite bow hunters in
Yeah.
you want to be with and things like that from all over the country. What if you could say one thing and what you want to do about bow hunting in the future? If you could capture all the bow hunters in the United States or world, what would you want to tell them?
What do I want to tell them? You know, shoot straight, I guess.
Well,
Now, what I'd want to tell them is this. And this is a little bit against the principles of Boone and Crockett and Pope and Young, but I would tell them that the kill is an anticlimax type of thing, and don't base the fun or the experience of hunting on whether you get an animal or not. The kill is way down the line. You enjoy the woods, you enjoy the companionship and the birds and the fish and the animals and the color of the leaves and all this and that. Because if you're going to, you can get pretty hungry hunting with a bow and arrow. And if you're going to base measure your success by how many animals you kill, you're going to be pretty hungry most of the time, because the bow is a great handicap. And it isn't. If you want to get a lot of animals, you take a gun and do it, but you don't try it with a bow.
well, that's some pretty good advice, Fred. And I sure want to thank you. I look forward to seeing you up here at Grousehaven again. And Bob, thanks there too. Believe me, I always enjoy being with you.
I think it's on. All you got to do is look at the eyepiece and just get a good frame. You got it?